give us the burn. Don't give up, just deny. We try our best, and we're successful. Go watch our show. Big River sponsors. It's time to start. Enjoy the show.
Welcome everyone to Betting Weekly Live. It's Mad Friday over here in the UK today. We've got a special show for you. Joining us is the Director of Content Nigel Seeley and special guest, professional boxing handicapper Kristian Dawson. Nigel, good to see you. Hope you're well.
Very well, thanks. I'm recovering from a cold. It's been a bad bug around the country and got a bit of a cold. Got a chest infection, but looking forward to the show. Looking forward to sparring me old mate Kristian Dawson. There, the better for the boxing. We call him Smiler, and you'll find out why we call him Smiler over the next 15 minutes or so. But very interested to hear what Kristian has to say about the big fight tomorrow.
Welcome to Betting Weekly Live, Kristian. Great to have you on here. We're looking forward to your insight into the really big fight. Obviously, Usyk against Fury. You know, on the last fight, you did a bit of a section on Instagram for us. Called it spot on. So, you know, the first question I suppose I've got to ask you is who's going to win the fight?
Well, this is the $1 million question. And actually, I don't think it's easy to call. I think it's a really, really difficult fight to call. And I think obviously that's sort of reflected in the betting. But tentatively, I'm going to go with Tyson Fury. I think that if he comes into the fight more focused and a bit more dedicated, and he's made some changes which I like already. You know, he's changed the corner about. It looks like he's only going to have one voice in the corner now. I think he's made some of the necessary adjustments that might just get him over the line this time.
You used to be, I was just looking for your profile. You used to be an amateur boxer. Now you're into, obviously, you know, a specialist boxing handicapper. And we're going to put the odds on the screen in a minute and stuff like that. Just welcoming everyone who is watching live or on demand. Paul Laguna, Rick Haley, Duncan, and Buelo Charles. Always great to see you on the show. There's a new name there, Weird. When is the fight? What is the actual time? What's the estimated time it's going to be on? Guys, is on Saturday.
It's tomorrow. It's 11 o'clock UK time, which will be around about 6 o'clock Eastern time, I believe. But yeah, I mean, just a couple of things. I mean, I've known Kristian for a very, very long time, and he called the fight spot on in the first fight. You know, even a broken watch is right twice a day, isn't it? But and we had him on. And the reason we had him on because he's cheap. But so it was quite good to get him back on. But I've known him for a very, very long time. Now, joking aside, he's an excellent boxing judge. So he's the man you want to be. Well, he's been studying the fight. He looks at all the different angles. We call him the protractor. He knows all the different angles. He's got them covered from the boxing angle. So yeah, it's an intriguing one. But I was really, really fascinated before we come on this show to hear from producer Troy beforehand that in a world of the heavyweight championship of the world, which is the biggest sporting event, you know, it's when the big heavyweight championships come on, the Mike Tyson days and the Muhammad Ali days back in the day, you know, huge title events. Now YouTube boxing taking more handle than the heavyweight championship of the world. It's just staggering how the sport has changed, isn't it, really, Kristian? I mean, I find that incredible.
Yeah, I mean, and you can see why, you know, fighters like Carl Froch are wanting to call out people like Jake Paul, because the money that they're bringing to the table with, you know, very limited ability is just crazy. I mean, you know, you talk to fighters in the UK and you talk to people who, you know, have had big fights. I mean, take actually, for example, Julius Francis. Now, I think off the top of my head that when he fought for a British title, I think the amount of money that he got was something like about £60,000. Now, you compare that. Now, this is a genuine bona fide heavyweight. You know, a man who stepped into the ring with Mike Tyson, a man who mixed it up with, you know, domestic class fighters in Britain, you know, top of the game in Britain. You know, and Julius, you know, to be fair to him, never really world class, but had mixed it in with very, very good fighters. He got a 60 grand payday for a British title fight, something like this. You look at Jake Paul, 70 million pounds for jumping in to essentially a ring with somebody who really should have been put out to pasture a long time ago in terms of his boxing. It's just nuts. It's just nuts.
Amazing. I mean, it's staggering, though. But I mean, the box. I just can't believe that a big fight like this, that there's more money being bet on that. It just shows you what the young things. But I think it's a terrible thing for the sport, really. Personally, honest with you. But it's going to be a good fight. I mean, the first fight was intriguing. I might, if you look at the first fight, Tyson Fury should have stopped him, and then he was showboating and give it up, and then Usyk turned it around in the latter round. So I mean, you can't make the same mistakes again here, can he?
Yeah, and actually, this is one of the things that I like about him coming into this fight, is he's said a number of things. He said that he's clearly looked back on the fight with his team, and he did. I mean, the showboating was just crazy. I mean, he even in the first round, he was shaking all about, like he was Muhammad Ali in the corner kind of thing, and he was acting like he was 11 rounds up with 1 round to go, and of course he wasn't. And all throughout the fight, he was doing it. He was messing about and dancing about and not really engaging properly. And it seems to me this time he's much, much more focused. There's none of the usual mind games that we associate with Tyson Fury. There's none of the usual showmanship that we assume with Tyson Fury. The last time he was calling Usyk a little rabbit and a little sausage and all of this kind of thing. And there's almost been radio silence from him in that sort of thing. It looks to me like he's a man much more committed and much more down to business on this. And I think that if you look back on that first fight, particularly with the judging, is the judges were very, very close. I mean, remember, Usyk only won it on a split decision. And that leads me to believe that it won't take much from Fury to perhaps reverse this. And I like the things that he's saying in the build-up. I mean, he's also saying about, the changes of the corner. I mean, John Fury is not going to be in the corner. He's not going to be, overriding, Sugar Hill in the corner. And it seems like Tyson's only going to be listening to Sugar Hill. And I think that was one thing that also came up in the last fight, that Andy Lee said that, we just need to have one voice in Fury's head, not 2 or 3 voices like they had last time out. So I like the changes that Fury's made, and I think that if he can do what he did to Deontay Wilder, which was to put Deontay Wilder on the back foot, and in the first fight when Fury fought Wilder, he made a mistake in as much as he tried to box him and box off the back foot, not stay in Wilder's way. And then in the second fight, they realised the mistake and they went for the jugular with Wilder. They backed him up. And when they backed him up, you could see that Wilder was not comfortable with it. And that was actually the blueprint to beat him. Put Wilder on the back foot and he's not nearly as effective. And I think if you look at that first fight, if you look at the way that Usyk was boxing, when Fury was putting Usyk on the back foot, Usyk was not nearly as effective. And if Tyson can do that in this fight, I think that he's got a big, big chance of turning this around.
Let's take a look at the odds for the match. We've got loads of different markets, 60 different markets on Bet Rivers. You can actually attack this card. Yeah. I mean, we've got obviously money line. Usyk's the favourite, -143. Tyson Fury +120. The tie is at 15 to 1. You can bet on loads of different rounds. You can bet on the method of victory. To go the distance, yes, -155. Total rounds over 10.5, -195. We've got a few questions in chat, which we're going to come to in a minute, Kristian. But I mean, if you were to have your best bet on the fight, what would it be? And then maybe we can look at some of the side markets as well.
Yeah, I think I'd just keep this simple. I would go with Fury by decision. I really would, because you look back at Usyk's career. He is a wonderful boxer, great footwork, etc., etc. He's never been stopped by anybody. But I just think that if Fury is going to win this, that he could win it by decision. I mean, I think that perhaps we can expect another close fight coming into this. And my pick would be Fury by decision.
+300 Fury by decision. There was just a couple of questions. Duncan Evans said, any round betting tips? And Paul Laguna asked to go the distance. So obviously you do fancy this to go the distance. -155 though, is that a good bet or not?
Yeah, I think I mean that's more of the interesting one. I mean, maybe the total rounds might be the better shout. Maybe if someone gets tired, there is always that danger, particularly in heavyweight boxing. It only takes one shot. someone gets tired. And remember, I mean, Tyson was, he was all over the place, in the 9th round. He looked like he was a drunk man at a work Christmas party. I mean, he was just,
See a few of them last week.
Yeah, we've all been there, Nigel, right? I mean, he was just all over the place. So, maybe the total rounds, maybe you'd want to, maybe if you thought the fight was going to go the distance, maybe you'd want to be on like the total rounds, maybe, I don't know, something like over 9.5, over 10.5. If you thought the fight was going to go the distance, maybe that will give you a little bit of insurance coming into the later rounds as well.
Nigel, my only worry, I mean, I'm nowhere near a bit of I love watching the fights. I love watching it. I've got no real opinion on it, but I like watching the big fights. But I just think that my only worry about betting Fury in this fight is that he had that trilogy with Deontay Wilder, didn't he? And, Wilder's come out that trilogy, hasn't looked the same. He's been absolutely, he's been beaten in pretty much every single fight he's had. The aura of invincibility around him has gone after Tyson schooled him really in those fights. And I think both boxers left a lot in that trilogy. And, he's had a lot of battles. He's not getting any younger. And it's whether he's up for it. But John Fury says he is. He said to me the other day, "There is no man who can beat my son. He's a fighting man. And I plus 120 with Bet Rivers. It's one of the best bets you'll ever see." That's what he said to me the other day. So we'll have to see what happens.
This is where John Fury's gone.
He's made an impression on you, Nigel, hasn't
he? There is no man on this earth who can beat my son twice. I'll tell you now. Tyson wins and he knocks him out. Plus 120, Bet Rivers. So that's what he told me.
On the knockout, right? It's a question for you, Kristian, because all you often hear about in the build-up to a big fight, or any fight really, is, it just takes one punch. And is there sometimes a perception from the public just to get on the knockout because it's a bit more, I don't know, it feels more attractive. It's maybe a better bet to cheer on. Where in this situation, you're saying decision is probably, if someone wins it, you think it's probably by decision either way. But I mean, we've got a couple of lead thinks there, Fury knockout 7-2. Sometimes the knockout, I always just see it in the build to the fight. He's going to knock him out. He's going to do this. What do you think on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one. I mean, I think that it's just that if you look at the quality of both of them, and you look at both men's record coming into this, I mean, Usyk has never been stopped. He's been, wobbled a couple of times in his career. Fury, obviously, with Deontay Wilder, I mean, he was, he was all over the place with him, and obviously down a number of times in their trilogy of fights. But he always managed to sort of get back up. And you have to say that Deontay Wilder, in terms of his punching power, was much more effective than Usyk. He's a much bigger puncher, Wilder, than Usyk. So I don't know. Just both men's records, both of their ability to actually absorb a shot would kind of makes me suspect that maybe the knockout for either man is maybe more unlikely in this occasion. And the fact, of course, that both of them did go the distance between each other, and it was a very, very close fight, and that was obviously reflected on the scorecards. I mean, one of the judges actually scored it for Fury. So there is a possibility, like a strong possibility. I think that Tyson will reverse, but for me, I'd be steering clear of the knockout. I mean, of course, that 9th round, people are pointing to it and they're saying, "Oh, well, he nearly got him out of there." I mean, he had him hurt, and he that there is no doubt. But let's be honest. I mean, Tyson recovered from it. Where
do you think the money's going to be approaching the fight at the minute? Fury is plus 120. Do you think the money's going to come for Tyson, or could he drift? What's your prediction?
Yeah, I wouldn't be at all surprised if the money starts to come for Tyson Fury, because I think it might be, a case of like the patriotic vote in Britain. Everybody knows that people in England, they're gambling mad, absolutely love a punt. And it's the same with, sort of football. When the English football team play, a lot of the times, the bookmakers are inundated with people wanting to bet the national side. And I just wonder whether that might happen here, whether people in Britain might decide, okay, yeah, we're going to get behind Fury, and maybe they'll have the money down. But from a betting point of view, I mean, you could hear the case and hear just argument for people backing either man, really.
Any chance of a draw?
He has been bet all week, Steve. Fury's been bet all week in the build up to the fight.
Right.
The bettors have actually liked what they've seen, and actually the plus 120 with Bet Rivers is the best price in the world. Some books over here are plus 100, plus 110, so that plus 120 will probably be under pressure come fight. He looks much more motivated. I mean, when you look at the weigh-in, not the press conference yesterday when they're staring at, went on for 11 minutes, didn't it, Smile? 11 minutes of a So he looks right up for this challenge. But it's obviously fight talking. A lot of people just get lured into the hype and try to bet it. But I think when you see the opening bells, and I mean, the interesting thing for me, Smile, what his tactics be? If he tries to outbox Usyk, he could come under pressure, couldn't he? Because Usyk is technically, I think, a better boxer than him. So he's got to go to try to hurt him and knock him out, isn't he? So he's. If you look at the pictures of him, I don't know if the weighing's been done yet, but he looks a lot leaner. He looks a lot leaner. So he's losing a bit of that weight advantage where you would think that if he was coming bigger, he's going for the knockout. But I think if he tries to get in a boxing match with him, I think that's a dangerous tactic.
Yeah, I think that they will have learned from the first fight, and I think that he can forget about trying to outbox Usyk. There is no way that he can do it. If he's going to win this fight, he's got to do what he did to Wilder. He's got to take the fight to Usyk. He's got to put him on the back foot, and he's got to try and press the action. And I think that maybe one of the reasons why he's leaner is maybe because he realizes that actually that extra weight made him more of a slow boat rather than being fast. He's got the natural size and weight advantage, and now all he needs to do is sort of push that forward. He'll need to be aerobically fit to do that. I hope he's been out doing his road work. I hope he's been geared towards that sort of kind of training, if you like. But I think if he can, and he can really put Usyk on the back foot, he can definitely give him problems. But of course, to do that over 12 rounds, you have got to be fit. Now, actually, something Steve said just touched on briefly there is an interesting aspect to this fight as well. I wouldn't say that the draw is a million to one in this fight, not by any stretch of the imagination. Because I think that another thing you have to take into account with all of these big fights nowadays is that money talks with all of these things. And what I'm going to say now is going to be somewhat controversial. So I'm going to pick my statements with care. With care. But let's be honest with ourselves. If Fury were to win this, then it would set up for a massive rubber match. With once again millions and millions of dollars on the table, and you have to just be aware of these things now when you're evaluating these fights as to what the commercial value is of these things going forward.
Yeah, got that. One positive for him, he said he hasn't spoken to the missus for 3 months. That's a usual occurrence. That's a usual occurrence in my house. I only found out yesterday. She chucked the job in at Woolworths.
She wants him to fight 5 times a year now.
Yeah.
The draw is 15-1. Someone was asking about that. Kristian, you think that? I mean, don't discount the draw here, the tie as it is, because I suppose if it did end a tie, then again you'd be looking to a third fight, really, wouldn't you? We thank you very much for your great insight into the fight. Best bet from you is Tyson Fury to win the fight plus 120. Get on it now. We think that price might not last potentially. Bet Rivers best price in the world at the moment. Until the next big fight is on the card, Kristian, we will say goodbye to you. Me and Nigel are going to continue. We're going to have a look at the Friday soccer card. But it was great having you on Betting Weekly Live. Thanks very much.
Thanks a lot, Steve. I'll leave you with John Fury here.
See you later, Kristian. My boy wins. Plus 120. Get up.
We'll be back in 10 seconds. Me and Nigel. But take care, Kristian. Goodbye. It's me and you, Nigel.
Yeah, that was good. Bit different.
Good stuff.
He's a good
Yeah,
judge, though, Smiley.
definitely.
I've known him a long time. I
Very
mean,
good.
he's a very, very good judge. Very good horse racing guy as well. Very, very good. And then when he has a bet, you want to pay respect. And I'm joking aside, he does call it. He messaged me a few times on the boxing, and he calls a lot of winners. So he's a good guy to have. And I like his argument. I think plus 120 is a big price for Tyson Fury, and all the reasons you said that a trilogy will make perfect sense. Before we go into the show, it's Paul Laguna's birthday today. Happy birthday, Paul Laguna.
Ooh,
There you go.
Paul Laguna.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Happy
Many
birthday.
happy returns today. We won't ask how old he is, but one of the big loyal followers of the show. But so the big fight of the weekend, we've also got loads of soccer action across the weekend. You can check out the Premier League show with Nigel, Jack, Dan. That's already out. Your Betting Weekly Extra Time European edition, I think, might be released already, or if it hasn't, it'll be released very, very soon. We've also got Soccer Today across England and Europe. So we're going to start in the English Championship, which is quite an interesting game. Luton Town against Derby County. I mean, Luton are a bit like the Australian soap home and away, really, aren't they? They do all right at home and they're shocking away. Plus 105 on the money line here. Over 2.5 goals is plus money. Plus 118. I think that has a little bit of an appeal considering Luton's defence. Friday night at Kenilworth Road under the lights. Bit of an advantage for them, would you say, Nigel?
Yeah, I thought Luton were probably a slight bet here. It's quite funny because you said exactly what I think most people watching this show or most people betting on this match would do. When they see Luton matches, the first thing they do is look at totals and see over 2.5 and think, oh, that's got to be a bet. Or see both teams to score, think that's got to be a bet. But this Luton team isn't the swashbuckling Luton side we saw last year in the Premier League. In the last few matches, they've gone very tight. 4 of their last 5 matches have gone under 2.5 goals, actually, surprisingly, in Luton matches. So they're not that team that we saw in the Premier League last season. They've got a manager here in Rob Edwards, who was fighting for his life in his jobs. He's under huge pressure, and if it wasn't for what he did last year in the Premier League, he would have given his P45 a long time ago. And he's changed the style a little bit at Luton here. Derby are on a terrible run. They hadn't won in 6 matches until last Friday night when they played Portsmouth and won 4-0. But that was a really, really bad performance from Portsmouth. I'm not convinced by Derby. Derby have always been a good underside this season, but I think here, if you look at this, surprisingly, I know I was going to go for the unders. I thought the unders actually were the angle instead of the overs. And, surprisingly, I'm going to go for the unders. You're going to go for the overs. But when I saw the prices of minus 155 under 2.5 goals, I couldn't get involved here. Derby have failed to score in their last 2 road matches. They offer very little in attack. They had that fluky match last week where I think that a lot of people expect them to sort of come back from here. But I would expect Luton to win this narrowly. So I'm going to go probably a 1-0, 2-0 Luton win. But I think Luton at plus 105, it come close to an official bet to me, actually. But I think at plus money, I'm going to take a chance on Luton. Their home form and the fact that they're underachieving on their stats as well, Luton. They should be on their metrics. They should be doing a lot higher. And Derby are pretty poor, pretty average. And 1 win last week doesn't turn over what we've seen over the last 2 or 3 months. So Luton at plus 105 is a small lean for me.
Yeah, we were all on Portsmouth last week on this show. Every man and his dog, and then Pompey put up that shocking performance. The bet, I'm not actually taking a bet. I asked my Luton mate, I said, what's the best bet here? He said both teams score. Yes, he doesn't trust his defence. But I was actually, funny enough, on the journey home from town today, I was thinking under as well, just because they've gone into their shell a bit, then a bit nervous. I think Carlton Morris is a big price to score any time at plus 310 with Bet Rivers. He's the captain of the team. He tends to lead by example, and he's on penalty kick duty for Luton Town. So that would be a goal scorer better go with. Let's go back to the card with quite a few matches actually today. I don't know what that's all about, but it is the start of a mad sort of Christmas period. League One here: Stockport, Peterborough, Wycombe, Bolton, and Cambridge, Huddersfield. Anything catch your eye here on the League One card?
Well, I'll just go through a couple of them. I mean, there's a lot of people in America who'll be watching this show. Really, League One and League Two wouldn't be high up on their betting list on this weekend. But there's a couple of things here which I think are important if you can get on the prices. Stockport against Peterborough. Stockport have had a very, very good season. They've been heavily bet today. They're minus 155 in their graphic. Now minus 186. So there's been a big negative towards Peterborough. Peterborough out to plus 420 here. The goals has been moved massively to all day as well. So there's been a huge move for overs. So if you look at Stockport, but Stockport have lost 3 of their last 4 matches. Peterborough are always good for goals. 58 goals in the last 13 Peterborough matches. 8 of their last 13 matches have seen over 3.5 goals cash. And that was plus 132. It's now plus 128. So Peterborough games, always high scoring. That's been that case for the last couple of years. And Sir Alex Ferguson, the former Manchester United manager, his son Darren Ferguson is the manager of Peterborough. And he's under a little bit of pressure, actually, because they expect them to be a lot higher than their position. They should be pushing for the playoffs. Missed out on last season and in the playoffs as well. So I think that Stockport are a good side, but they're not in great form. So I would expect goals here. But if you expect goals, you've got to look at a goal scorer. And Stockport have one of the best players in League One, head and shoulders above many other players in the division. And that's a guy called Louis Barry, who's on loan from Aston Villa. This guy is absolute quality at this level. He scored 15 goals this season. He scored 9 in his last 11. He's a real talent. I'm sure that he'll emerge in the Premier League in a couple of seasons. He's far too good to be in League One. He's been someone I've bet anytime goal scores throughout this season, and it's cash for me. And I've been quite keen on Stockport throughout the season, but at minus 186, I'm not keen. But in a game of goals, and we expect goals in this match, 4.46 goals are averaging in the last 13 Peterborough matches with some crazy score lines. The line is 3.5, and Louis Barry at plus 118 to score any time would be where I'll be going here. So Louis Barry to score at any time, plus 118 would be a bet in Stockport. Peterborough. Wycombe Bolton is an interesting one because Wycombe have overachieved what everyone expected them at the start of the season.
How
Bolton,
good are they, by the way, Wycombe? I mean, they're unbelievable. Everyone's been betting Wycombe blindly on this.
They've had a little bit of a blip, though. They've only won in their last 4 matches. They did play well last week in a win against their former manager. I can't remember his name now, but the rock and roll guy was QPR manager. What's his name? What's his manager?
Gareth Ainsworth.
Gareth Ainsworth. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, they beat his side, and it was good for the manager, Matt Bloomfield, who's a former player there at Wycombe. But I just got a feeling that Wycombe might get weary. They've got a small squad. I think when the Wrexhams and the Birminghams really have the money to go again in January, and you wait and see, Birmingham will buy again, Wrexham will buy again, and I just don't think they've got the financial power. So I expect the drop off from Wycombe, but they've done brilliant, and playoffs will be fantastic. If you get automatic promotion, it's brilliant. But I think Bolton here maybe might be a little bit of a big price against this Wycombe side. I know Wycombe have been performing really well, but Bolton were the side that everyone expected to be in the lofty position rather than Wycombe. I would expect goals in this match. Both teams to score, I think, would be a good cash. They've got goals. Bolton have been very entertaining this season, unlike them in the previous years. Minus 139 is both teams to score. Maybe a little bit low for people, but if you put a parlay in. And the final match in League One, I really give a chance to Cambridge. Plus 325. They're a team that I've bet a couple of times at big prices this season. They've done all right for me. And they're managed by Gary Monk, a very good manager, former Swansea manager. Very good manager at this level. They're in good form. At home, they've only lost once in their last 7. 13 matches, only 3 losses. They got a draw at Wrexham last time out. I know Huddersfield are playing very well at the moment. They've got a good manager in Michael Duff. But I think Cambridge at home, it's a sloping pitch. Not many people like going to the stadium there at Cambridge. It's a very cold night tonight, and that'll be a horrible trip for Huddersfield. And I think Cambridge at plus 325, in particular on the handicap as well, I've got a good chance. Wouldn't be surprised to see a draw. Cambridge have drawn a lot of games recently, but I think Cambridge have got a fighter's chance at plus 325, but my best bet in all 3 of them tonight, Louis Barry, plus 118 to score anytime Stockport against Peterborough.
Yeah, I was shocked when Gary Monk was appointed manager at Cambridge. I mean, he's way better than League One level, really.
He was manager at Leeds, wasn't he?
He was very good. He took Leeds to the should have took Leeds to the playoffs. We were, I think, 3 points out. No one ever really had a complaint about Gary Monk at Leeds, and it didn't work out with the board, things like that. I think he's far better than Cambridge United. No disrespect to Cambridge, but he's done all right there. I mean, when he took over, they were in shambles, weren't they? And
yeah, I mean, they've always been very hard to beat at home because they had that very famous sloping pitch, and they used to play a very hard, heavy, direct style of football. It's not. I've been there before. It's not the nicest of stadiums. And I think tonight on a cold night, I think that's going to be a real difficult challenge. I know they're in form, Huddersfield, and they're looking for automatic promotion in the playoffs at least, but I think that's a tough match tonight. Plus 325. I definitely wouldn't be rushing to bet the minus money Huddersfield. In League Two, we got one bet. My official bet, my best bet tonight is Crewe to beat Colchester. They were plus money this morning. I bet them at plus 110. Money's come from their minus 103 now. Colchester have been the draw specialists in this division. Colchester are on a good run at the moment. Haven't conceded a goal in 6 matches, but their road form is one of the worst in the division. I think they've only won once on the road in League Two. Crewe have got one of the best home records in League Two, and their league positions between the two. I think Crewe in third and Colchester in 17th. So there's a big differential in their league positions. Crewe here, I think they're a much better side than Colchester. Colchester do have a goal threat in Lyle Taylor, the striker from Wimbledon. He played for Charlton. He's capable a lot higher level than this, but they're very reliant on him. Defensively, they're pretty solid, but I would expect Crewe with that home record to have the edge here. They were as big as plus 130 in the week, Crewe. So there's been a big money move from down to minus 105. They were plus 110 this morning. Colchester do have a couple of players out as well, so that's important. And finally, Gillingham are up against Cheltenham. Cheltenham, I thought, were the worst side in League Two, but they've had a bit of resurgence in form in recent weeks. And Gillingham, I watched them against Bromley the other week, and they're very average. Very average. They can't score goals. They're not off. They're powder puff in attack. Under 2.5 goals here would be a good bet for me. But they win a lot of games 1-0, Gillingham. So Gillingham 1-0, correct score, would probably be a better way to go. Only 22 goals in 10 home matches in Gillingham games this season. Win a lot of them to 0, 1-0, 2-0. Mark Bonner's the manager there. He's the former manager at Cambridge. He's quite a negative coach. He's got a very strong defence, very big defence, but up front they are real lacking power. So a low-scoring game for Gillingham. I expect them to edge it 1-0. But my best bets tonight, I'm going to go for a lean for Luton, plus 105. We go for Louis Barry to score any time as an official play at plus 118, Stockport, Peterborough. And we go for Crewe at minus 103. And hopefully they bounce back to around about even money before kickoff time.
I've got one further bet to add for the show, and it comes in the German Bundesliga. It's a big match today. Bayern Munich against RB Leipzig. And Bayern Munich, I think, are crazy short here. Minus 112 just to cover a -2 Asian line, minus 530 on the money line. I think RB Leipzig +2 on the Asian handicap at minus 112. They haven't lost any of the last 7 matches against Bayern by more than 2 goals, and tend to raise their level of their performances against them. And the injury list for Bayern Munich is awful still. The likes of Kane and Davies are still questionable. Perlini is questionable. Several others are ruled out. Manuel Neuer still got his broken rib. And RB Leipzig are a team that generally tend to get right. And I think they can come here even if they lose the game by 2 goals, you don't lose any money with a +2 Asian handicap line against a Bayern team that shockingly lost last weekend against Mainz.
When you look at that game, Steve, I mean, you know a lot more about German football than I do. I mean, I specialise and really totally only concentrate really on the English leagues. But, don't you think, without Harry Kane, without those injuries, I mean, the total goal line looks very high, doesn't it? I mean, I know I
like the unders as well.
I know this is a historic match where you would turn around and say Bayern Munich against Leipzig in years gone by is a match that you would say, well, that's bound to be goals. But under 4 goals with 4 goals a push, minus 139, you don't lose if you get 5 or more goals. That seems
I agree with
very high, doesn't it? No Harry Kane.
I mean, I like I like the under as well. I really do, because Bayern, we know how the game's going to go in terms of its style. They're going to have a lot of the ball in the Vincent Kompany. And I think Vincent Kompany gets a little bit timid when the pressure's on him a little bit after last week's defeat. He'll want them to monopolise the ball. If you offer Vincent Kompany a 1-0 win right now, he snaps your hand off. He's that sort of manager. He don't mind that at all. And RB Leipzig can defend on a good day Leipzig play as all the Red Bull teams in the world play the same system. And it's a really weird system. No one else plays it. It's basically 4-2-2-2. It's effectively like a Brazilian box sort of thing, but it's tricky to face. And when they want to defend, which is in the big games, then they can be hard to break down. So I mean, that's a crazily high goal line. And this time of year as well, it's not exactly great conditions down there in Munich right now, Nigel.
No.
So,
well, I mean, it's 3.75 on the Asian is under minus 108. But I always like playing when I play the Asian handicaps, I always like playing the whole numbers as a push. I like to get those whole numbers,
Yes.
and I'm more happy to take a lower price and have that assurance of the 4 or the 3 as a push for me, rather than win half or lose half of my stake if it gets to actually 4. So the 4 goals makes appeal there with the amount of injuries they have. But it's just one of them fixtures, isn't it? I mean, the head-to-head must be. If you look at the head-to-head between these two sides over the years, I bet you Leipzig and Bayern Munich has been a wild one. But I just think that with the injuries, it's the last game before the break, is it as well?
Yeah, but I mean, you say wow, but none of the last 5 head-to-heads have gone had more than 4 goals in them.
Yeah, well,
and it's I mean, yeah, there was a few wild ones around sort of COVID era, but quite a lot of matches got crazy then. It is they don't play now in the Bundesliga till mid-January, I don't think. So yeah, this is obviously an important game. Leipzig are not bad on their day; they're a decent team. Everyone's looking at Leipzig, and I think the only reason they're +2 here on the Asian line is because everyone see their Champions League form.
Well, we can't call them right on the Champions League. Every time we've got involved in them, we've done our money. So they owe us one, don't they, Steve? So we've got to bet the under 4 tonight. I think that's got to be the way to go.
Under 4 goals, +2 on the Asian handicap. There was a couple of other games in Europe as well. I had a good look at both of these two, and I just can't bet on either. Nigel, Girona, especially against Valladolid, that is a horrible game, really. Can't trust either team. Girona are a big kind of over team. Valladolid are an under team. So we've got a complete mismatch there. And AC Milan are very hard to judge this season at the moment. There's no consistency. I think we're waiting for them to get into a good, rich vein of form. So what are you betting on today, everyone? Foxy says both teams have seen 3+ goals in at most 4 combined league matches this season. Paul Laguna likes Indiana +8. Yeah, what are you betting on, guys, approaching the weekend? But do remember to check out the pre-recorded shows we've got, Premier League and Betting Weekly Extra Time. The newsletter, someone mentioned the newsletter. I think Disky was impressed with the tennis content in the newsletter this week. It was some crazy. I mean, the Challenger newsletter and the one this week, Nigel, incredible. So
yeah, it's very good
to you and Sean. I really do.
It's very, very good content. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe to bettingweeklystudios.com for the newsletter. It's all free as well, so it gives you a little bit of a heads up. There's a lot of player profiles, strategies from Sean, and also some in-play advice from me. Just one thing, Steve, before we wrap up, put that graphic back up again. Were you on the European matches?
Yeah, certainly.
You say you're not convinced about the Milan match. You're not convinced about the Valladolid. You made a good case for Leipzig. Bayern Munich are injured. What was if I bet all the dogs? Do you reckon we could get one of them beat tonight?
Yeah, I do, because Girona are the sort of team who are. I mean, they're actually better probably as a dog themselves. Do you know where I'm coming from? And we've seen them in the Champions League. They've been very inconsistent. I mean, I would say, to be fair, in the Italian game, Milan should have enough for Verona. Verona are not very good. They're struggling down there in the bottom 4. They lost, I think, 5 in a row, although they did win last weekend against Parma. But Milan are just all over the place. I think they've got a fairly poor away record. Yeah, they've only won 2 away games in Serie A this season. So, but yeah, I think if you had a half a unit on all the dogs on the money line, it wouldn't shock me at all if RB Leipzig won. I would not even shocked, by the way, at all. That's a massive price at nearly 12 to 1. They're absolutely no mugs at all. So yeah, I mean, funny things happen before the Christmas break too.
And before we go, I'm going to give you a darts bet tonight. A lot of people have been asking for darts bets and all that stuff. And I've done all right on the darts this week. I've started off the tournament pretty well. Today at 3:15 p.m. Eastern, there's a match between Florent Hempel and Jeffrey Dejuan. I like Florent Hempel to win this match. He's been bet all day. He's down to -175, but I think if you like that kind of price, I think he wins easy. But I like him to win 3-0 as well. You get about 4 to 1. Hempel to beat Dejuan, 3-0. 3 to 1, 4 to 1, that kind of price. That's the best bet on the arrows this afternoon.
How about the bully boy getting beaten last night?
No shock there. I said a bad G. He's going to drop. He's going to drop out of the top 16 in the world. He won't be in the top 16 in the world champion.
When he's on song, I think he's a brilliant player, the bully boy. Chamu Momperezzi, Bundesliga 2 is also on today. Elversberg versus Schalke. They really shouldn't be down there in Bundesliga 2, should they? Both teams to score and over 2.5 goals. That's his pick. Good luck whatever you're taking today and over the weekend as well. me and you've got one more live show together before the end of the year, and it's on Boxing Day. Tell us about that.
We got a special one. We're going to do a betcast live in play on the Premier League. All the matches kick off at is it 3? Are they 3 o'clock? They're 3 o'clock kickoffs, aren't they?
There's a lot of at the same time.
So we're going to have a 2-hour live show, I believe it's going to be. So we're going to go on early, look at the team news, break down the moves, look where the money is, and then keep you going throughout the day on Boxing Day with all the in play, courtesy of Bet Rivers. So that'll be looking forward to that on Boxing Day, and that'll be our final show of the year.
5 matches.
Yourself and them. No, 5 matches going all through on Boxing Day. So looking forward to that one, mate. Should be good fun.
Yeah, including Newcastle, Villa, and Chelsea, Fulham. So that is on Boxing Day on Thursday. Until Monday, we're back on Monday and Tuesday on Betting Weekly Live next week. But best of luck. Thanks to Kristian again. Thanks to you, Nigel. And
the final word has to be gone down to Big John Fury. I think Big John Fury has to wrap it up. My son is plus 120 with Bet Rivers. Make sure you bet him. He's going to become the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world tomorrow evening in Saudi Arabia.
Cheers, John. And cheers, everyone. Remember to gamble responsibly. See you next week on Betting Weekly Live. Take care.